Hey, what's up, world? It's been a while. Welcome to Cut the Deck, hosted by the one and only Isaiah Foji. Before we start the show, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll get straight into it. There's a couple of things to talk about today. There's money going around, money to be made, money lost. Even a certain draft prospect in next year's cycle that most of media has been worried about due to her exit in the tournament. So, you know, let's get into it. First, starting off with Audi Crooks. Audi Crooks is the 6'3" demigod from Iowa State who has been a revelation for her team so far. And I think a lot of people are worried about the weight. Now, obviously, there's some body shaming, there's some negativity, but I suggest that we attack this from a strategic angle and from a more logical angle. So, with her, obviously, we know she's a beast in the post. But with the current circumstances, that can also be a detriment to what she can bring to a team. I mean, her getting blown by in defense and not being can't be a sound defender at that weight. That's just the honest truth. We don't have to disrespect anybody, but we can tell the truth, and it's okay to critique. But also with critique has to come some type of solution. So, for example, something I just recently went through. I checked in. I do an in scan body. I do an in scan test for my body, right? So I think I weighed in last time at 259, 17.7% body fat, 46 pounds of fat, and 125 pounds of skeletal muscle. Now that's a lot of muscle, 125 pounds, but also it's the 46 pounds of fat. That's what I'm targeting. Nothing else matters. Sometimes weight for vanity purposes means a ton, so people will step on the scale as soon as they get up, but that number isn't giving you the full context to what's important and how you should adjust your diet, your nutrition plan, or your cardio, or your caloric intake. So with her, I think she should get an in-body scan, see what's the body fat percentage, how do you increase the muscle, how do you do the caloric deficit, and put some nutritional things in place to where, hey, you can lose the body fat, because all body fat is up your muscle, lower your fat mass, and I've been through that and I've seen some results. And so for her at Iowa State, they definitely have the resources to get that done. The worst thing she could do is not improve that this season, because what people don't understand about players is when they improve at something, they can also make their team better. Imagine Audi Crooks, the beast she is in the post. Imagine her sprinting the floor and getting out in transition and being a beast in transition, and her putting pressure on the rim. She's going to allow for good spacing for her team. So sometimes when you get better at a thing, always think about the ancillary things that you do to help your teammates get better. Let's say I'm a shooter. Okay, I can shoot the ball. That's what's up. But also know there's a gravity to me. So every time I'm on the court or I get the ball, somebody's looking. Or hell, if I pass the ball, somebody's looking. There's a gravity to me. I'm going to draw two so I can make some plays. Once I get out in transition, obviously it's going to be tough because I may hit the transition through. I might slow it down, get into a half court. Everybody's watching me. You're watching me. You're not looking at my teammates. So sometimes as a basketball player, when you improve something on your own, you can help your team. And I think for Audi, I think that's the best route to go, is you want to start looking into some ways and how you can cut that down, because she's strong as an ox. Once she cut the fat and she can move more, that's when it's going to get dangerous. And like I said, it's a way to talk about it without being so demeaning. But we're in the time now, women's basketball is at its highest, and while we praise it, we should be allowed to critique women basketball players in a respectful way, right? But, when Zion was going through what he was going through, no one said a thing. Kenny Lofton, there's a bunch of guys who had the out of shape label, and they just got better. There was no internet discourse. If anything, it was more jokes than anything. So it doesn't have to be that for her, but we should be able to critique women basketball players without it being looked at as we're bashing or we're hating, or this is some thing like we hate our mothers. Like, no, we just critique basketball players, and we should be able to do that. Speaking of the WNBA, there's been obviously some historic dealings these past few days with the new CBA. As I pull my notes out, I'll tell you all what's been the news with that. We all know about the CBA, the new revenue system, expected to bring in over $1 billion over the lifetime of the deal. The salary cap has raised to $7 million from $1.5. The new max salary is 1.4 million. The average salary around 590, 600K. Minimum salary 300K, depending on your years in the league. And not only that, there are also retirement benefits. So the women are paid now. This is what they've been waiting for. Congratulations. And it's about time they get treated NBA adjacent. Respect them like you do the men's game. Support them like we do the men's game. But more importantly, let's critique them like we do the men's game, okay? Pay us what you owe us. We did all the chanting and cheering, and that's cool. But now it's time to deliver. Because with money comes expectation. In training camp, it's gonna be some killing. It's gonna be some dogs in training camp. This ain't no more than 70, 80K. Hey, if I don't make this, I'm gonna just go overseas and I'll be fine, or I'll go get this job and I'll be fine. These girls can literally become, these women, I should say, they can literally become millionaires. They can literally become millionaires, and people don't understand that. Let's say they get this 600K from the W, and then in the off season they take it to Unrivaled, get another 250, and then hey, let's say it's a couple brand deals and a couple ancillary things around the way, you get another 300,000-400,000. Now you're a millionaire. So understand, even if we bring it back to the Audi Crooks situation, let's say, I think she's a junior, so she'll enter the draft next year in the 27th cycle. Let's say she goes to training camp and people see the weakness. There will be no one being spared. Like no one is spared at the expense of anything, because it's time to kill. You got vets in here been making $70,000, and that's before taxes and agents. If you tax 30% of that, what are we looking at? 20-something thousand off the top. Oh, and then the agent gonna want 4% because they are doing a job helping you facilitate your deals. And everybody ain't getting endorsements, man. Don't look at the top of the top and think that's everyone. Everyone isn't getting any endorsements and partnerships and things like that. So you got some hungry vets coming in with any weakness, man, and you get slaughtered. It's gonna be some dogfights in training camp. It's gonna be really be some dogfights in training camp. I think the next video I will do a couple of WNBA teams and see who deserves that max. How many slots are there? I want to say it's about 2 or 3. I know for me, I'm biased. I'm an Atlanta Dream fan. It will be tough to see who gets. I believe if there's 3 slots, I would go Ryan Howard, Alicia Gray, Breonna Jones. Now, BG, I would go BG to get a max, but they can also position it as, oh, you're the vet. This is our, because, we have our other women that are coming into their prime now. So obviously, but the 600K ain't bad. Shout out BG. But it's just tough. Let's say you have 2 or 3 slots and you got 4 players worthy of it, because in my honest opinion, I think Naz Hillman is worthy of a max contract. But also, with this new CBA in place and this money coming in, you're going to see the business. The business of basketball is going to be ever so present in the WNBA now that new money's involved. Because me, honestly, pound for pound, Naz Hillman deserves a max contract, but the team can justify it and say, hey, you came off the bench, 6th woman of the year. The same thing with Lou Will. Lou Williams never made over $10 million annually in his career. That 6th woman, that 6th man, it caps you from a business standpoint. And so it's things like that you're going to see. It's going to be interesting to see who gets the max, who gets the minimums, and it's up to 300,000, and that's still contingent upon how long you've been in the league. So I think a great video will also be to see who from a couple of WNBA teams deserve the max. Let's name 5 teams in the comment section. I want you to name 5 teams. We're going to go through their roster, look through the production, and say who deserves the max contract. Because it's going to be interesting to see who gets it. And it's a lot of players. Everybody ain't going to be a millionaire right off the bat. But this is still good for the league, man. Imagine a minimum $300K, average salary $600K, and your max is $1.4 million. This is a step forward in the league. This new CBA thing has been a step forward in the WNBA. But you want to rock out like the men, just know what. Obviously, it's not a men and women thing, but if you want to rock out like the NBA, you do understand what comes with this. Because you got to think NBA players deal with this all the time. Some random media pundit saying what they're not worth and what they're worth, and they're essentially playing with their livelihood. For somebody with a lot of influence to say, yeah, they're not worth $100 million. You know what I mean? That may get into the ears of a GM who doesn't, and an owner who don't really watch basketball. Because the people at the highest level they're basketball, they're cool with it and they understand it, but they're not basketball fanatics to where they can watch him and say, oh, he's actually worth $100 million. They're going to hear somebody of influence say he's not worth $100 million. You know, he doesn't deserve that because this, that, and the third, and there's just more people picking you apart, and these media pundits and everyone else is telling you what you're worth. So I think the women, they should also be prepared for the critique that comes with making this type of money. There's going to be somebody on the outside saying you're not worth this much. And there's going to be an owner just watching everything everyone else is saying because they don't know nothing. Owners don't know sport. Some of these owners know red, green, first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. Did you make me money or did you lose me money? So, just understand this is what it comes with. This new CBA, like what they say, great power comes with great responsibility. And there's going to be some eyes on you all because now it's time to produce. You've been paid. So now, as fans, we're expecting a great product in which we know the W can put on a great show. I think some of it's going to be really hype. It's going to be really hype this season. Everybody's going to, juice is flowing. We get paid now. People have been working on their game overseas, then came back. You have unrivaled, 3-on-3 small-sided games. Those are extremely great for development. Those girls are going to come in with another utmost confidence. We have the draft coming up. It's just a great time to be a WNBA fan, a true one, since day one. So moving along, Audi Crooks, WNBA. Speaking of money coming in, some money has actually came out. Shams have reported that the salary cap has took a dip, probably near $1 million. So now the salary cap will be $165 million. Now the salary cap floor, $147 million. Luxury tax, $201 million. The first apron is at $209 million. The second apron is at $222, my bad. And there's been a media revenue dip on the fact that, hey, the games are being scattered everywhere. Like, there's no one way to streamline, and that local media revenue means something. But it's hard to do with all these streaming services, man. So understand the business ecosystem is forever running in the NBA. And when we think, man, they just lost $1 million, it's like the fans just think, the league just lost $1 million. What does that mean? Not understanding the salary cap is your quote-unquote bag to be able to pay your players each year. And so when there's less money, that means opportunities are scarce. Here's an excerpt that I put in my notes. And I've been thinking about this since I heard the news. And I wrote this down. And it says that NBA isn't just players and teams. It's an ecosystem. So when the cap drops even a little, it creates pressure. Front offices get tighter, agents get more aggressive, and roster spots become way more competitive. And when that happens, teams stop looking for talent. They start looking for solutions. So you got to think the end of the bench guys are now, you're going to be watched more than ever. There is no more just we're going to give him a roster spot because he's a good guy. And actually, this salary cap dip also affects the G League because the two-way contracts become more positioning than just filling a slot because we simply have only two-ways and we need one. So it becomes more important for them to you might be a minimum guy, you might be a standard guy, but you'll get put on a two-way. So essentially, the chain reaction, it pushes the G League player out. We all seen a player in the G League to where they're too good for the G League, but they're not quite NBA ready. Those guys are actually stuck in a rut because now no one knows what to do. And the guy we thought was a standard guy, we don't even have the flexibility to give him what he wants. So we'll just have to put him on a two-way. So it essentially pushes the chain back, and it literally pushes the progression back, especially if you're on the fringes. So now teams are looking for solutions. Now that the money's being scarce, teams are looking for solutions. Who can help us without costing us? That's the thing. These two-way contracts have become a lot more strategic, and even like everybody's gonna adjust. Everybody's gonna adjust. The front offices are like, yo, now that we have less money, we can't afford any mistakes. We need certainty from said player. They're going to value the role players more. They're going to avoid these risky signings and these guys who are so emotionally erratic that you can affect things in a horrible way. And now more than ever, teams will prioritize system fits. That's going to be really good. And for me, as an avid basketball fan, I think that's important. You prioritize system fits and avoid these signings that can either hurt your roster and barely help your roster. Now, the agents will adjust immediately because now they're reacting to what's happening. There's going to be a change in how they push their clients. And the great agents, they intentionally frame. So now they're going to intentionally frame their guys as a low-risk value. They're going to fight harder for guaranteed money. And you're going to see what when the salary cap dips and now there's some financial discrepancies, you get to see the true talent of an agent. They're going to try to secure spots. They're going to want to fight for more guaranteed money, and they're going to intentionally frame this as, hey, this is low risk value. He's not a problem. And behind the scenes, competition for roster spots are going to get extremely loud. And so people don't understand that when it comes to the salary cap, less money means less time for BS, less time to play. It's going to really be about who helps. The star players are not affected. Rotation guys, slightly affected, but the most affected guys are the fringe guys on the end of the spectrum because there's no room for you all, and literally. And I wonder, does the salary cap take a dip every year? Because we're still going to do the streaming thing. Local media isn't going to get the games anymore, and it means that we're not going to be able to capitalize and make money from each different vertical as we did in the past. So does the salary cap drop every single year? That makes it even harder to break into the NBA, especially as a fringe guy. You know, the two-way guys are weapons now. That's going to be extremely important. The G League ecosystem even tightens itself. There's more competition for call-ups. There's more emphasis on role clarity because, as you know, in the G League, you cannot score your way to the NBA. But you have to be clear and concise on what you can bring to a team because there's only so much money. There's less tolerance for this Bush League mess that's happening in the G League. All that go get buckets, like you need to translate to an NBA system. You know good and damn well you cannot score your way out of the G League. But now, with the money tight, you'll see. But all in all, what do you think? Again, we talked Audi Crooks and what can she do, and how can she be effective at her current weight? And she's a great player, but imagine what she looks like when she tightens that up. We also talked about the CBA. You know, congratulations to the W, but now it's time to prove. And also, who gets the max contracts? Again, I need 5 teams in the comment section for us to discuss who gets the max contracts. And last but not least, the dip in the salary cap. How does this affect the business as a whole? So, what do you guys think? Isaiah Foji, Cut the Deck. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.